All right, so here we are talking about water filtration. I'm Michelle Ipperson from Design Well Studios, and here today I'm having Nick DeValk from Water Service Elite along with Tony Pennington. And we're really happy to have you guys here to really talk about water filtration, why it's important, why that, I mean, when I hear people say, I just drink tap water, I'm like, really? Tell me more about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, with that, let's dive in. You know, what is your definition of healthy and safe water, and why is it important to have filtration?
Yeah, great question, Michelle. Yeah, my name is Nick. I'm with Water Service Elite, and thank you for having us on. I really appreciate it. I think this is a conversation that needs to be had and needs to be out there for people to educate themselves on, to your question, what is clean, healthy water? Because we are unfortunately living in a time where we're not being provided that. There are a handful of contaminants that are in water, some necessary, some not, depending on your location, whether it's city water, well water. We look at that, of course, water being a critical part in any life cycle, human health of the home,
Water.
water, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. We're made up of mostly water, and we should be interacting with the cleanest version of that. And yeah, like I said, there are unfortunate contaminants in our water that I know a lot of people are starting to talk about now and becoming more aware of, rather than just trusting a supply for being clean, just because it is coming from a treated source. But albeit that treatment, is geared towards the masses. A lot of that treatment at the municipal level, not to shun the work that's being done there, but in order to treat large volumes of water to make it, quote unquote, healthy, you do need things like chlorine, you do need things like bromine, you need things like chloramines to get rid of all the biological contaminants, to protect the water as it travels through the infrastructure, the plumbing, through that travel and the path of water that flows to the home, eventually, into your body, can collect things along the way. There are disinfection byproducts that come from treatments. We're seeing things like elevated levels of heavy metals in water.
Well, also the pipes too. Like it depends on how old the pipes are, what's in the pipes, if they're clean or not, and
they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not.
I know.
It's just as much as everything else, it's outdated infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So
when we're getting that, water entering the home, expecting it to be clean just because it, doesn't look like anything, doesn't smell like anything, doesn't taste like anything, that's not really the barometer for clean anymore, because there are a lot of subsurface contaminants that you can't taste, smell, or see. Right. And filtration does a great job of getting rid of the things that you can taste, smell, and see, mainly chlorine. Right, everybody knows what it's like when you walk into a hotel with a swimming pool, right? And you get that hit of chlorine, your eyes start to water, and you start getting itchy. I mean, I do anyway. I don't think
I can taste it too when we've had like heavy rains, or there's been some sort of a contamination. I can smell if there's been added chlorine to the from the municipality of the water. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
And they tweak that, kind of depending on what's needed, depending on environmental factors as well. You mentioned rain, water quality fluctuates. Mm-hmm. They try to keep it within range as best they can, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be interacting with a carcinogenic contaminant. Right. Especially in a hot shower. If you're vaporizing that, breathing that into your lungs, your pores are open, it's soaking into your skin. You've got small
organ. Yeah. Right.
So you're basically in a chamber of chlorine. So
people don't think about that, the air quality. People focus on air quality, but they don't think about the air, the contaminants that are coming from the vapors.
Right.
And so that's a big point.
That's why I say if anybody's ever smoked anything in their entire life, you know how immediate that changes in your physiology and your state of mind or whatever. And same goes with any contaminants you're inhaling due to increased pressure and vaporization and respiratory.
Right.
So
Right. Now, there's different points, I want to talk about, how you guys got started in the water business and why you feel this is, so obviously you're talking about the definitions of healthy and safe water. Obviously you feel like this is an important thing, you being in the business. And yeah, I'd love to hear how you got started in the water filtration business. What sparked your curiosity and led you down the path?
Sure. And I don't think I fully answered your first question, just giving you the
Yeah, no, if you want to jump back in, that's fine.
Yeah. I think, we talked about a lot of what's unhealthy in water, but, definition of clean, healthy water to me anyway, something that you can go and drink confidently. It nourishes your body, it hydrates your body. You don't have to worry about any chemicals or contaminants that could potentially aggregate current health issues or contribute to longer term health issues. And we see that as, an issue that needs to be talked about, and we're coming with a solution. So there's my definition of healthy, clean water there.
Yeah, we have the capacity to do that with technology now. I mean, if you don't have access to a live spring that you've tested, that you trust, that's a great option. We fully support that. But I mean, with the technology we have at our fingertips today, amongst everything else, there's no reason why you shouldn't, take advantage of that within your dwelling, in your home, in your safe space, and your sacred space or whatever. I mean, we're here to help with that and do it properly. And yeah, I agree with Nick. It's just getting that to that state that you're happy with, that you're confident with, that fits your lifestyle.
Exactly, lifestyle. I was just gonna note on that, because a lot of people, they eat organic, they go do yoga, they hike, they love being outdoors, they garden. They're conscious of a lot of the things that they buy and bring into their homes, and yet they're drinking bottled water or tap water, or have a filter that doesn't, like a Brita filter, or nothing. I shouldn't say that, but it's this is leveling up. It's what I feel like, when you're having good filtration in your water system, it's something that you do every day. I tell my clients, as a building wellness designer, where are your exposures every day? Like, where are you constantly, like, where are you sitting? Where are you sleeping? Where are you being affected? What could you be exposed to? Let's look at those areas. Drinking water, obviously, showering. Those are repeated events daily, multiple times a day, that could be impacting your health. Level those up. And if that's important to you, let's make sure that you're getting the best system out there. And make sure that you know that it's a great investment.
Of course,
it is.
Of course,
it is.
I can tripping up my words, but like so many people think that let's talk about like buying a Maserati or
Right.
furniture or whatever is like top of their list, and good for you for that. Have fun with that. But this is, if you don't have your health, you can't really drive your Maserati. You really want to take care of yourself and make sure to invest your money into something that's going to give you back health and wellness.
Yeah, or at least put an equal level of health into your body that you put into your Maserati. So don't put worse water than you put fuel in your vehicle. So and when people come to us with all of those options, right, with, like you said, yoga, this, that, a lifestyle of health, but ultimately, water is the fundamental, like, foundational ingredient to each of those directions, right? So that's how we look at water, as an ingredient to building that everything up and elevating that.
Absolutely foundational. And to your point, if you really stop and think of how many times you interact with water throughout the day, from when you wake up and go to bed, it's almost an unconscious thought. But if you really stop and think about how many times you interact with water in your home throughout the day, the list goes on and on. Within the first hour of waking up,
I'll put that together for you guys with that proposal that we did together recently, about all the different touch points, from drinking tea, to taking a bath, to drinking, to all these different touches.
To protecting the mineral content in your water so it doesn't damage your organic cotton clothing. I mean, there's just so many ways, right? That it interferes and interacts with not only the investment on your being, but the investment on your lifestyle.
Yeah, washing clothes is another one too.
Supports all that.
Touch point. So I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
is there anything else you guys wanted to add upon that before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I think this is a good segue because I think, talking about what we've talked about already, you can tell that both of us are very, very curious and very excited to talk about water. I didn't come from, a water background. I've had a laundry list of jobs in my past, everything from luxury hospitality to, ski bumming in Vail, Colorado when I was in my 20s. But I'm always curious by nature. When I started learning about, water quality, especially when moving to California. I moved out here in 2017. I grew up on a farm in Minnesota. We had a well. The water was great. It rained a lot, surrounded by lakes, never really had a concern about the health of water. Coming out here to the West Coast where water is a limited resource, and that limited resource is, unfortunately, degrading over time, and learning more about that and understanding, the layers of onion of water quality and water treatment. Because once you start going down that path of curiosity, you get more questions than answers, right?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so that kind of inspired me to learn more about water and water quality. And it's been, oh gosh, almost 8 years now that I've been in the industry, and I still consider myself very, very green and learning more and more and more every day. And I prefer my life to be like that, and I prefer my job to be like that. It keeps me engaged, keeps me curious, and then also being able to provide a solution. Rather than just sitting around and complaining about the state of the nation and all of this and all that, just like, well, I feel like I'm playing a role because I'm actually contributing to a solution rather than just sitting around and complaining about a problem.
Oh, you're a fixer. No, I love it.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, advice. Yeah, so I'm California native, grew up in Northern California. My background in water started in large scope agricultural irrigation. So I worked with a lot of, Northern California counties, water distribution, from Hetch Hetchy to San Francisco to the Central Valley to the farming communities. And I was in that for about 8 or 9 years. Got out of that, moved down to Santa Barbara, and got into more of a magnified scope of water treatment. And just have kind of dug into it ever since. I'm a curious person. I have more of an engineering mind. So, nuts and bolts and making things work in the field as opposed to just idea generation. I love the idea generation. I love being a part of that and a part of the solutions. Nick and I have worked together for the last 8 years. So we're very cohesive, and I think we work well together just because of our skill set and our curiosity sets. But yeah, water is important, very important, in every aspect. I've only lived in California, so I've been through the era of I drink from the hose. I've been through parents telling me that, and I'm like, yes, you did, and that's fine, but that might explain why you're on 12 medications. Like extrapolated. So I get it. I grew up in that, like the 70s, 80s, whatever my mind could, wrap itself around. But as I grew and saw the ag world just use and use and use water for oats and alfalfa and almonds, and just how much is wasted, and just that whole,
That's another topic.
Yeah, it's a whole nother topic. So I removed myself from that with that knowledge, and am now applying it more directly, so people, so we can empower people to get the water that they deserve and that they need, that they can curate amongst their home, amongst everything else that they're curating, right? So like Nick said, the public utilities put the chlorine in the water to protect themselves and then you, right? So now we live in a day and age where, if you trust in the right people with the right background and the licenses and the certifications and the technology that's currently available, we can help set that up for you to take on that responsibility at your home at the point of entry. So, yeah.
For sharing that. Yeah, as the thing is, you know, we can only control a certain amount of things, like outside of our house or our property. You know, things change. We don't have a lot as much control. But when you move into your home, there are a lot of things you can control. And water and air are definitely those things, as well as EMFs. So what are the most important things that to filter out? Like, what would be your top list? Obviously, I mean, I could probably help too. The microplastics and the forever chemicals and the fluoride and, you know, things like that, or that we didn't really. I mean, I grew up in your area too, Tony, and I grew up in Santa Barbara, actually. And
Nice.
yeah, it was awesome.
Beautiful. I'm sure. Yeah.
Super fun. But you know, nobody talked about this stuff back then, you know? And you know, we want to also state that, or I want to state, I'm sure you guys do too, there's so much information out there. I've got college age kids that, you know, I'm trying to continue to educate them, but yet not scare them or overwhelm them. And I sometimes do that because I'm so integrated into this field that I'm like, let's just take it slow, and like, here's a good filter for you, like for a tenant, right? But they're not homeowners yet. So what can they do? I've got, my youngest is in college, just started college this week, and I got him a pitcher. It's better than tap water. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a high end one. But like, what are the most important things that you would say to filter out? And then I want to talk about your systems too, and how they work.
Sure.
Oh man, I don't know. There's so many. It's like, pick your favorite movie, you know. I would say immediate surface contaminants are going to be chlorine, chloramines, PFAS, trihalomethanes, and then from there, heavy metals, fluoride at the, you know, remainder. And then of course that's in Southern California, where they're currently redistributing black water now as potable water.
I want to hear your thoughts on that.
So then you want to get into like trace pharmaceuticals, trace hormones. You know, everyone's taking something these days for something, getting rid of it back into the treatment, and then they're sending it back to you now. So there's so many stages of just repurposing all this water, you know, that we're using within a given infrastructure, right? There's never going to be new water. We have what we have to work with. There's springs, which are great for tapping in small amounts, as long as you're not depleting those. But our goal here really is to really work within the space of the water that, I guess,
that we have available
to us, you know.
And mimic nature too.
Right.
Technology to be.
Yeah, of course. So we'll touch on that a little bit. You know, and water's perfect form, you know, in an undisturbed, untainted, you know, pristine spring bubbling up from the earth. You know, it's had many, many years to come from rain, to filter down to the earth, to come in contact with stones and sand and, you know, the energetics of the earth, and then filter its way back up through the ground and going through that natural process. It starts bubbling over rocks and collecting UV from the sun to kill off all the biologicals, things like that. You know, that isolated environment, perfect scenario, right? And unfortunately, those are becoming very, very few and far between without any sort of human interference. So the way I look at it is like, if we have that, respect it, honor it, leave it alone, right? We've got so much water that we can work with within our infrastructure that we're being provided, albeit it's being recycled, you know, and I understand the thought behind recycling the black water in California is, you know, conserving a resource, right? But that also compounds an issue when you're not treating it correctly. So, you know, taking the water that we're given that's available to us and applying technology to it in various forms. You know, like I said, with the layer of onion of knowledge, there's also layers of onion of treatment modalities within the spectrum of contaminants that we have to apply in a very, you know, sequential specific order to be able to remedy those. You know, it's one of those things I always tell people: if someone comes to you with a one-size-fits-all solution for water treatment, start raising that red flag.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like protocol for someone's health. I'm also an integrated health practitioner, and like, you can't give one person, or you know, can't give a whole community one protocol. You know,
Right.
everybody, every situation is different, every property is different, and you know, it's, you have to really customize it to make sure that, and then every area is different, you know, where you live, and you know, what's the municipality, or if you have a well, you know, there's just
or if you're on septic, you know, sometimes you can't treat certain things because, you know, you can't put it to your septic system because it, you know, disrupts the biological nature of how that works. So there's a lot of things that come into play.
And there's you know, back to your contaminant question, I think chlorine for sure. Chlorine has a shelf life, so you know, chloramine is the response to that. You know, it's a chlorine ammonia mixture, which allows it to stay at a high residual for a longer time in water. But as a byproduct of that, you know, disinfection byproducts, you know, sprout off on their own little family trees, you know, THMs, trihalomethanes, and a lot of other sub contaminants come from that, you know, linked to cancer, linked to all these other things. You know, we're not making health claims, but it's, you know, proven that, you know, these are carcinogenic contaminants that we're interacting with. So I think for sure, let's go ahead and target and get rid of those first and foremost, and then we can start whittling down the other contaminants. You know, surprisingly, we saw a water report with lead in it, trace amounts of lead. And
that too after you're finished.
If it came from the infrastructure, if it came from the municipality, who knows? It was a remote property, so you know, all signs point towards infrastructure related. Hard to tell, but it was there. You know, coming in with a solution for that, because lead, it's a neurotoxin. You know, it's something that you don't want young children interacting with, let alone grown adults.
Right.
So you know, we take a very focused approach on what we're treating and where we're treating, what the location is, you know, looking at municipalities, water reports, the most recent, you know, if we want to take a deeper dive, you know, pulling water reports from testing that we can target and eliminate specific chemicals that are, you know, showing up that, you know, are problematic.
Or contrasting that to the EWG website, you know, the public utility reports that are sent out are very shallow representations of any kind of health standards or the other 28,000 contaminants that are actually in the water that they're not reporting. So the EWG does a good job at reporting the localized, you know, healthy limits, whatever that is, right? And for that.
I wanted to touch upon what you were saying about the lead. I'm an affiliate with TapScore, so people can order that and then test their water.
Excellent. Nice. Yeah.
And this is after we got a new water filter. So this was our faucet. We got a new faucet. And I tested the tap water. I'm like, I want to see what we're drinking. We got a new, I'm like, this is great. It said lead free, da 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 da. And I had it tested before, and no lead. So so I tested it with the new filter from the new faucet, and we had traces of lead in it.
Oh.
So this is very important for the listeners and for everybody watching or listening, that when you're sourcing a filter, or a faucet, either for shower, bath, but mainly drinking, make sure it is NSF certified.
Correct.
It's not, it'll say lead free, but that is not lead free. You have to make sure it's NSF certified. That's
a great statement to make. That is. Yeah.
And so we've replaced those, and I'm going to be doing a new test to see what the scoop is. We have a common filter that we use. Definitely want to talk to you guys about getting your filter in our house, and then I want to start documenting that and testing that one too. But you know, that whole thing is like, we want to avoid these things like heavy metals, whatnot, contaminants. And I want to know, I'm curious too. I want to know what my animals are drinking, what my family's drinking, what my guests are drinking. You know, it's important. So with that, you know, hydration is a huge thing too. There's a lot of talk about this, and people are talking about, you know, electrolytes and drink, or you're drinking too much water is not good for you, but just drinking enough, or you know, and the water filters that people have, like the reverse osmosis, that take, not reverse osmosis, but sometimes some of the water takes out the minerals that
Mhm.
like needing for their body. So can you talk a little bit more about hydration, why it's super important, and you know, about your systems and how they keep the minerals in so people can be hydrated and not depleted?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think we all kind of, understand the benefits of being hydrated, right? It comes with everything that is involved with that for, just body function in general. But the way that we look at it, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because the way that we approach it is there's kind of two different routes that you can go down when you're treating a home. There's water that we optimize through our technology to work for the property, and that's for bathing, for cooking, for showering, for washing your clothes. Not necessarily the same approach that you would take for water that you're consuming. A little bit different set of rules. We need to have a higher attention to detail because that's what's going into your body internally, right? And the technology that we use for drinking water wouldn't necessarily scale up, 1-to-1 on a whole home level as far as costs and wastewater concerns,
efficiency,
and efficiency and power,
cost,
footprint,
footprint.
right? So again, back to my not one size fits all approach, right? But focusing more on the drinking water side of things, number one, it has to be clean, right? That's number one. There's the best way to do that mechanically, not from our system, but just as water treatment as a whole, reverse osmosis. That's the best way that you can get down to that sub-micron contaminant removal, down to microplastics, down to fluoride, all the heavy metals, hormones, things like that. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because if you're taking out all the bad stuff, you're also taking out all the good stuff. Because water does carry a lot of good things. And we're talking a lot about contaminants, but there are important minerals in water like magnesium and potassium and calcium and sodium that your body loves, again, for its processes and rhythms and electrical communication.
That's what contributes to the hydration process.
Right.
It's not just because it's wet distilled, RO'd water. I mean, that's what you put in your car battery.
Mm-hmm.
I know some practitioners actually recommend distilled water, and I'm like,
in certain cases, I mean, if a practitioner is recommending it, I wouldn't want to go against their directive, but
as a drinking practice,
maybe supplementary or something.
Sure.
I mean, you get minerals and things from all sources of diet. I mean, that's the thing I think is hyper focused on. We're talking about minerals and water. They are very important, but you also have your diet outside of that, which gives you the opportunity to uptake minerals that you choose or add sea salt, Celtic minerals, or whatever you'd like to do. But minerals are just important, I think, when it comes to hydration and water.
Excuse me. So cleanliness, and then with reverse osmosis, and then adding minerals back in, right? Because once you strip everything from its, healthy minerals, that also lowers the pH. pH of water or pH of anything is neutral is 7. If you're stripping out alkaline minerals, you're going to either be neutral or slightly acidic. So when you're reintroducing essential minerals, that does elevate that pH up to, a nice healthy alkaline state. Ideally, we're looking at 8.5, 8.0 range.
Yeah, anywhere from 8 to 8.5.
Yeah.
Anything higher than that, I mean, you get too high in the alkalinity chart, you start getting like, small migraines. There's other offshoots from that.
Mhm.
It's very, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too much. So toting high alkalinity. So we had a gentleman that we were working with, he was getting kidney stones. It was kind of, I guess, hereditary. And he's just like, I'm drinking this high alkaline water. And I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, you need to drink pure water. Those are high mineral content. It's probably because your body, is doing something with that high mineral content. At least that's what I thought. You tell me you're drinking 9.5, 10.5 pH water and you're having kidney stones.
That's the thing, is it's moderation, but with a conscience,
Yes. Yeah, sure.
It's the balance.
Yeah, anything extreme on either end of the spectrum is going to have, some sort of effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's talk about your systems too. I mean, without giving everything away, like what sets your system apart from others, like the drinking in the whole home? Like, there's so many different systems out there. I do a lot of research. I have a lot of companies come to me with, I'm the best, and you need to sell mine, and this, that, or the other. And I'm very curative, as you probably know, that we worked together before. Like, my approach is I want to make sure that it makes sense, that it is quality, that it is good for my clients, for people. It's something that I would want to have for me and my family. So yeah, like what sets your system and your solutions apart from the competitors?
The solution, we'll get into systems in a little bit, but I think the solution of the education and the intent behind what we're doing is deep, and not just from where we sit, but from an ownership level of our company who's been knows in the books of water chemistry and system design and certifications and training, just to be able to provide a solution correctly. On the whole range, right? Rather than just one segment of water treatment for drinking or for the whole home or for showering, being able to take all of these available technologies and intelligently and correctly put them together to work harmoniously to, give you the final product, which is the water.
And that's backed by, WQA certifications, Water Quality Association. We're members of that and certified and qualified in that from Water Science, like you mentioned, NSF, there's also, UL listings and other things and there's many different, there's a few different versions of, NSF listings and qualifications based on numerical value as well that represent different stages in that certification. So we understand how all those are managed and how all those apply to treating water properly. And I think our overall design, we've worked really hard the last, couple of years to design our systems specifically. We are the direct manufacturers of our systems. And those have all been designed around new tech that we've invested in, and years of being in the field and seeing what works and what people don't like and what doesn't work for their busy lifestyles as far as ongoing maintenance and headaches and medias and outdated traditional tanks that don't filter what they say they're filtering. Because again, it's like we were talking about an outdated infrastructure underground that we don't have visibility to. Right. So those older tank style systems, softeners and carbon tanks, those are media based with medias and resins and products inside of them that you don't get to see. So you buy this tank system and the granular media in there needs to be able to support the water running through it evenly, almost like a reverse, percolated, but upflow. So what happens over time is that media, it does compress itself in certain segments within that tank. So the water just ends up channeling. So you're not getting the water that you think you're getting because it's not contacting the media properly. That's one of the designs that we've designed into our system with the quick connect cartridge filters. So that when those are replaced based on volume, that you're getting that fresh media for that capacity. Instead of like, I've been looking at this system next to my shed for 12 years and it's hideous and I don't know if it works, and it's got white stuff dripping from, calcified leaks. So we want to make water, do what it says it does and be attractive to look at and, give it some respect.
Yeah. Sounds like you've done several iterations to get to the point where you're constantly like improving the systems to make sure, and you're taking feedback and what's working, what's not working. I really love to hear that about a company, because my background is user interface design and customer experience, and making it a positive experience for people from the beginning to the end, and making sure that what you're selling is what they're getting. And that's super important, because as there's a lot of companies that say they do things, but then they don't actually deliver that. So that's really important.
Well, it's all marketing. They're just marketing companies. I mean, they're buying product from, generationally, maybe exchanges hands 3 times. They don't actually know what they're selling you. They just know how to market really well.
Yeah,
So if that fits into your perspective of what you're used to seeing, that's going to look attractive and you're going to buy it. So most of it is that.
right. Very cool.
And yeah, with benefits to a point, right? You know, if we're coming out and saying like, this is going to be the first and last system that you will ever purchase and maintain correctly, we mean it. We'll stand by that. You know, not call us again in 3 years and we're going to have to rip the whole thing out and replace it with something new, or get frustrated enough that you're just going to trash it and call somebody else, which, you know, we end up picking up those phone calls and have a lot of times.
Yes.
So, you know, again, that goes back to our design of there's longevity in mind. You know, we're not a consumer-based product in that nature where it's a throwaway after you're done with its lifespan. You know, you don't upgrade to the new water system, the iPhone 16, let's just trash the 15, right? It's just, here's what we got. We've designed it for this way because we recognize what works and what doesn't in the field. So we can confidently supply the best fit for you for as long as you need it.
And it's a modular design, so you can take it with you. That's another, you know, key design aspect, is that we have systems that we can build on platforms that are fully assembled. We also have wall mount versions of that, which are easily disassembled based on our modular design and the way we created it to fit together, install, break down, take with you. So you're not lugging a 900-pound tank.
For sure. But also, I mean, if you were to be selling a property, it would just benefit and raise the value of the property.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot.
We've seen that happen too. Yeah,
I've seen that a lot too, where people, sell their homes and
benefit.
are very proud of the water system that they have sitting in their garage. You know, it's, It's, we know we do have some clients that it is actually a point of pride where they pull in their car in the garage and see our beautiful water system hanging on the wall, and it's not just some thing that you throw a jacket over because you don't want to look at.
It's a confidence factor. The confidence factors.
That's the thing too. I think it's peace of mind too, knowing, I mean, doing all this for so many years for you know, building wellness, is that it's not a mystery anymore. Like, you involve people to let them know that these systems are working to help them, you know, and then they can have peace of mind knowing that, you know, it's they don't have to worry, you know.
Right.
Like, it's not an element of unknown where you're like, am I drinking something bad for me? Am I showering or swimming in something bad for me? Like, like testing everything, or knowing, like, having trust and making sure that it is. And, you know, it's good for the body and it's good for the home too. Like, when you have good filter systems, and like, let's talk about gardening too. Like, when you spend so much money and time and you love your garden, like, what do you want to, you know, and you're eating your vegetables and fruits in your beautiful garden I'm looking at right here. And we do have a nice hose it's lead free and whatnot, but like, it doesn't have a filter on it. And I'm like, that's going to change. But, you know, it's definitely another level to think about when you want to, you know, pick your apples or raspberries and cut your broccoli, and you want to make sure that another level has been taken care of.
Absolutely.
Very true. Very true. Especially with all the gardening and horticulture going on, you know, currently.
Yeah, in Portland, everybody's DIYing everything.
Very important.
We had chickens. We're like, we're going to be here for a while. It's gonna that lasted a year. I gave them.
And you touched on a really important point too of treating the home as its kind of entity versus, we talked a lot about human health and water that you're ingesting, but protecting the investment of your home, of your living space. There comes to another, back to your question of what's important to remove from water. If we're looking at hardness, right, in water, that's, you know, high calcium mainly, but it's what leaves the water spots, is what leaves the crusties on the shower heads. It's the dishwasher that, you know, turns white.
What makes your shower head sprays in 100 different directions.
Not inherently bad for you for consumption, because it is minerals, right? But does wreak havoc on things like hot water heaters, that if you look at the fine print, your warranty is void on a tankless hot water heater if you don't have some form of scale protection on it. We're getting into homes that have, you know, steam generators for saunas, you know, very expensive, you know, sub-zero fridges that are built into the wall. You know, if you don't have that sort of protection for your home,
other things can fail.
Yeah, other things can fail very expensively.
Right.
Yeah. So if you buy the buy the off-the-shelf water system, well, you're going to spend the other $1,500 in the next, couple of years anyway on replacing faucets and shower heads and toilet fixtures and all that because of the calcification.
And it usually becomes a problem when it's noticeable and things start breaking, right? But, having that proactive approach, and you don't have to get to that, oh, the barn's burning down, might as well get the fire extinguisher. Like, let's just take care of it first. And then you don't have to worry about it.
That's like areas too, right? Like not every area, like in Portland, we don't have hard water here. It's
right.
Santa Barbara, I do remember it being very hard.
Extremely hard.
Yeah. Extremely hard.
My mom actually had a calcium stone removed from the thyroid gland when I was.
Oh, wow.
Wow. No kidding.
Wow.
When you're like, these come up and I remember these things and
yeah.
It's just what we don't talk about. And, there's going to be more information, in the next 20, 30 years that they're going to discover and whatnot. We don't want to feel like we live in a bubble, but when you have this information and you know the use for it, why wouldn't you want that? You know what I mean? It's like, why would we want to have that availability? It, like they said, it is an investment, but it across the board affects so many different things that you have to be able to apply that to. And to me, that's a no-brainer. That is
absolutely
awesome.
One more thing in our system design too, which is important, I want to touch on. We're offering whole home treatment, we're offering drinking water treatment, but we're also offering that proactive protection against leaks and flooding, which is a standardized. It's becoming more and more. Homeowners insurance in California right now is requiring some sort of leak protection on your home. Otherwise, they're not going to come in and insure you just because of the potential cost, right? So that's one thing that we're offering. Again, it's one of our own products that was designed in-house to integrate fully as a leak protection and water monitoring device.
And that's what actually dictates the filter change out timelines on the home system. Instead of just arbitrarily telling a client like, yes, every year you're going to need to spend this. We're just, we pick a year because that's what it seems like, right? So our cartridges are,
250,000 gallons,
about 256,000 gallons or so. So that could take, a smaller family 3 years to reach that. That could take, a family of 4 or 5 or 6, maybe a year. But that's all information recorded through the meter, which is then sent to, we have an app-based app that gives you all that information, sends you notifications, has an auto shut-off valve inside of it. So even if you're away and you don't respond to the notification, it will shut off your main water line so you don't come back to a third-story leak and $250,000 worth of floor replacements and framing. And so it's a huge added benefit, which, and like Nick said, it's becoming a mandatory component for homeowners insurance in California. It's not just a discount anymore.
I mean, I work with people all over the country and different countries as well. And, leaks are terrible, and is mold. When
exactly.
Water damaged buildings are very, very dangerous for health as well as the building. And so, some people have 2 or 3 or 4 homes, whatever, around the country or different parts of the world. Like, they can't always be there. And sometimes property managers, they don't know, they're not on it, and it's hard to manage. And so it would be so nice to be able to, we're going to be renting our place out, and it'd be nice to have an insurance that when we're away, that things are being taken care of, so that we're not going to have any surprises and stuff. Because obviously in Portland, it rains a lot here, and that we have new pipes, but when you have people coming into your home, you never know, especially for Airbnbs or for short-term rentals and things like that. There's people are hard on buildings. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. So it's really good to have that extra protection to be able to do that. I call it forecasting. You want to manifest bad things. You want to be able to, forecast what could happen. I'm a mom, sorry.
No,
but it's just good to be prepared, not freaked out, not overwhelmed, but just planning a little bit.
Well, that's the term we use actually in our app integration. When you log in and it learns your usage, we titled it Your Forecast. So yeah, it's the same. It's forecasting, what you could potentially be looking forward to using in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, and then your carbon footprint from there. So that's a great forecasting,
monitoring, pressure,
flow.
Any potential leaks. There's little flood sensors you can place. They look like Apple AirTags. Under sinks, toilets, drip trays on hot water heaters. If something triggers there, you can go take a look and see, oh wow, there's a leak, I need to fix that, or thank you for letting me know. I appreciate the awareness. Yeah, right.
And then we're also implementing another component is our LED.
Yeah, that's huge. I want to talk about that too. We haven't gotten into that part yet. Because that's we talked a lot about hard contaminants, things like that. But there's also the biological factor of viruses and bacteria in water. Those show up. I wouldn't say 100%, but a majority of well water reports that we read have some sort of bacterial load, whether it's E. coli or coliform or the list goes on and on. Those are two popular ones.
Parasites too, yeah.
Yeah, and then also looking at municipal water. That's why they put the chlorine in to kill the biologics. But if you have a proper filtration system for drinking or for your whole home, it's removing that chemical that kills biological contaminants. Water is life. Viruses and bacteria are living things. They will propagate if given the chance, right? So we need to figure out a non-chemical solution to disrupting the DNA of these viruses and bacteria. And then in our case, it's another in-house product that we've developed. It's an LED-based ultraviolet non-chemical sanitizer, which is big in the water treatment industry because UV is used widely for this exact reason.
Air stuff too.
Yeah, for air and as well, likewise with water treatment. Right now, the current method of doing that is a mercury vapor-based bulb. Just like fluorescence or anything else that has a mercury vapor that heats up and puts out the UVT. Number one, mercury is a harmful, toxic.
Breaks, that's it. Yeah.
Right. They're very fragile. Bulbs are very fragile. They last about a year, about 90,000 hours.
They use a lot of energy.
They disperse a lot of heat into the water, which can also aggregate some other factors in that, which diminishes the UV's job of killing bacteria. We've developed, patented, and built a range of LED-based UV systems, which is not available on the market besides what we have. We were a very, very, very niche product in that respect. And if you think of ambient lighting in the way of fluorescent or incandescent bulbs, everything's LED now, right? Water treatment's gotten to pass because no one's necessarily figured out how to do it correctly. We've got the solution for that.
Tested at the same labs as NSF certified labs in Canada and the East Coast of New Hampshire.
Yeah. Which is great. We integrate that on every single one of our under-the-counter systems. We can apply it to whole home treatment as well. Cities that get boil alerts, that's a big protection.
We've also tested it strictly against Legionella specifically.
Causes Legionnaire's disease. It's a really bad respiratory disease. We saw remediation against that. So yeah, I mean, any biological concern, we've got you covered in a non-chemical way.
Fantastic.
It's very, very
a lot of different things to be
healthy
water for people, and then it tastes good, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. I think
A lot of people are like, I'm so sick of drinking water. My husband's my husband's one of those people too. He's just like, I'd rather have something else other than water, and I could drink water.
Right.
Tastes. And I'm sensitive. I know when my water filter needs to be changed. I can kind of anything else, and it has to taste good because I drink a lot of water all the time. I do drink electrolytes, so I've got to do that for my body right now. But I definitely it has to taste good. It has to, because that's the thing. if it doesn't take good, that's also for seniors too. Let's talk about that for just a second. Like if, you get dehydrated when you get older, it's just a fact of life. And if it doesn't taste good, people, especially when they're older, they're not going to want to drink it. And so they're
Right.
going to get dehydrated, and that's going to cause all kinds of issues with their body. And I can talk more in details, but I'll kind of leave it at that.
Let's look at the taste factor of, going to an untreated tap. You're going to have that bad smell and that bad taste. It's hard. It smells like chlorine. It doesn't taste that great. Depending on the location, you might get some other weird smells going on in there. What's the alternative? Plastic bottled water, right? It's cheap, it's readily available, but who knows how long that's been sitting in the sun. You take a swig at that.
Tap water in a plastic bottle. A lot of those have been proven that those are just tap water in a plastic bottle.
That is a true statement.
Yeah. So
that is a true statement. Yes.
To find that common ground of taking care of your water for drinking in your home out of one tap, and fill up some nice glass carafes or pitcher, put it in your fridge. It's nice and chilled. Squeeze a little lemon into it. You're good to go.
Yeah.
There's another kind of nerdy, groovy kind of thing to do with water. It's do you know the oh gosh, what was he? He was a I don't know who his background was, but Emoto. Do you know who I'm talking about?
With the whole consciousness of water and the energetic.
Yes. And I have clients who have like taken a glass and then they put a message on it, and and you take like I love you, or goodness, or whatever, or happiness, or take like 2 seconds and like be conscious before you take a sip, because it's like you're putting it into your body, and like that's a whole nother fun story.
Sure.
It's something that's free and easy to do, and if it's like if it works for you, then that's great. It's all about like kind of being more aware of what you're putting into your body and things like that. So
sure,
you never know. I think that I'm very interested in things like that. Yeah, I just heard today, I was watching on my feed that linen and wool give off frequencies like sheets or clothing and whatnot. But we have a linen comforter and wool, linen duvet cover and a wool comforter. And this is interesting. But they give off frequencies. And same with water. Water gives off a frequency as well. But for the
absolutely
linen and wool, if you have them together, they negate each other.
Interesting.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't look that up. Yeah. See, got my curious brain going.
It's interesting. Yeah, and about sound frequencies and water frequencies. And we are all energetic beings and whatnot. So we all do our best to live our best life. And water is essential to that. And I just thank you guys so much for coming on with me. I look forward to doing business with you in the future. And what I'd love to have is maybe you have some links that I can provide on the podcast for people with more information on how we can get these systems into people's homes, and like what areas you service and things like that too. Because like I said, I'm all over, and I travel to do systems, and I've got lots of projects all over. And so it'd be so nice to be able to let people know about you.
Certainly.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
this is great. We love talking about water. So I mean, give us 6 hours. We'll keep going. So
I love it too. I mean, I don't want to get
45 minutes went by quick.
Yeah, and there's a lot more for people to dive into, and I'd love to have you guys on again, and we can talk about certain projects and things happening with, maybe some details about solutions that are more specific, that some case studies and things like that. I'd love to have you guys back on again.
Definitely. And just for your listeners, waterserviceelite.com, that's where you can find us. You can check out our Instagram, Water Service Elite. We've got a lot of great photos of completed installs, a little bit more about how our technology works. We got some really good,
augmented reality
3D models.
Yeah, that was really cool. I remember seeing
we utilize a lot of that for planning for jobs correctly. So a lot of great resources out there. Look us up. Our phones are at our hips. So if there's any specific questions, we love talking about water. We're happy to help. So
if we don't know about it, we'll help you find out.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna hit pause or stop recording right